Hello and welcome to this week's episode of Man, We're Too Old for This. I'm your host for the day, the experienced some call Jason, and with me is...
The token, 36 pink D6, Tarky.
The Godfather. CDL 113. What the hell?
It's what's in my car right now.
But what is that? Is a music soundtrack?
It is 36 six-sided dice that are pink.
Okay, see, that I understand. The other, I was like, huh?
He just repeated himself. Never mind.
I think when I just said D6, he went, is that some kind of boy band?
Yeah, that's what went through my mind. Like, what kind of soundtrack is that? Is that K-pop or some new band
Even
that's
though
coming?
we discussed what the subject matter was today, so D6 should have immediately
Just-
segued into...
Hey.
K-pop.
Clearly. Today we're talking RPGs, tabletop RPGs, specifically...
The ones you read. I'm there for you.
Thanks, explanation. Dungeons and Dragons, etc. If you're watching this, you probably know what it is.
Nope.
DM stands for Dumbass Monitor today, folks.
You probably know what it is.
Anyway, we're going to be discussing what we look for in one, our preferred styles. We may talk genre a little bit, but we're really looking more at what we look for in the rules themselves.
That's what we're talking about?
Yeah, that's what we're talking.
Oh, shit.
And we have a variety of players here. Me and Danny both play and run games. Todd plays pretty regularly.
I get drugged into things by other people.
Yeah. You've been playing regularly lately, but you're kind of on again, off again, and with the hobby in general. You know, I'm thinking of Todd as a casual player, but he's been playing steady for, 15 and 18, 20 years, you know.
Still hadn't talked him into running one, though, have we?
I was
going to run one time. Nobody showed up. I said, "The hell with it." Hell, there's trees and birds.
Yeah.
Are they live birds?
Well,
And here's some
they are until I throw them at your house.
Anyway. So we will
Goddamn.
start with
House of Dead.
Danny as the most experienced role player in the room.
Yes.
Because he has been playing since childhood, where I didn't get into the hobby actually having somebody to play the games with until I think I was driving.
Till I was 5.
You know, unless you count the old Hero Quest board game.
I think he just called you old, Dan.
I
said
am.
you old.
I just turned 49, so yeah, I'm old.
Staring down 50. Half a century.
Yep.
Anyway, so what do you look for in a game?
It has to fit. You know, I like horror movies. I like sci-fi. I like fantasy. You know, it has to fit in one of the categories that I like. Because I know at some point I'm going to end up running it most likely. So I have to have some sort of visceral connection to the style of game. The second thing I look for is how complicated is it to explain to someone and create characters, and as the GM run all the NPCs. Getting the story across, that's pretty much universal in any of your RPGs. But
By and large,
how hard is it for the player to understand, what stat do I need to do to punch somebody? What stat is it for drive? Those kind of things.
what would be an example of a game you looked at that you thought was too complicated? That there was too much effort into.
Twilight 2000. Oh, sweet God. I've played 2 sessions of that as a player. I've never ran it. I guess you'd say 3 sessions, because one session was us creating the characters, and then 2 sessions was us playing it.
The kids these days call it a session 0.
And it was one of those things of, God, I felt like I needed to know trigonometry at one point just to roll my character up. And then when we started playing, it was like, okay, I want to do this. Stuff you see in any action movie. guy with a gun. You want to have a shootout with somebody else, or you want to drive the car up and shoot the car next to you. The roles and the stuff you had to look up on your sheet and in the book to find out whether you could or couldn't do it. It's like, I'm gonna go out and stare at this tree for a minute and get into an argument with it. At least I can win,
I'm sure you could, but okay. I have heard that about Twilight 2000. I have never tried it. So our buddy Wayne that spoke highly of that, and he has run it at cons before, and the people that played it seemed to like it.
Now, it may have just been the guy that was running it for us.
It always hurts if the person running it does not have a good grasp on it. I have been that person before with some games. A good example I can think of that is Palladium's Heroes Unlimited. It is the longest continually in print superhero RPG out there. It is a hot mess. I love it. I have fond memories of it. It holds a special place in my heart. But it is a system that shows its age. It started up in the early 80s. The hobby was still fairly new. You didn't have a lot of game theory out there yet. And but it's one they've done very little updating to. Now they have multiple games that use the system. Rifts is their most popular one. There's plenty of people out there that love it. And like I said, I love it. Just warts and all, I'm aware of it. Would never try to run it these days. There's too many better options, easier to run options. Having played it with somebody that knew how to run it, I had a lot of fun with it. Not my favorite GM ever, but he was, he knew the systems. He knew how to kind of work around it.
He knew how to work around the flaws.
Clunky, it's flaws. It's clunky bits.
Draw you into it, yeah.
One I have heard about but never played was called Rollmaster. And it was one where you had, you made your attack roll. Oh, well, you got this critical, so you had to roll on this critical chart, which could potentially lead to this critical chart because you got exploding crit. So if you kept rolling whatever number was the trigger the crit, it get worse and worse and worse to the point that you could potentially shoot somebody, in the toe. But if you critted, not only would it kill them, but their throat might blow out. I mean, it'd just be some weird stuff.
Yeah, I don't know if it was the one you just mentioned or another one that my cousin had a copy of, and go to stab somebody with a knife, and as far as your wound, you inflicting a wound, you might do 1 point of damage, but the way where you hit them,
you got to roll a K critical, because some of them had from A criticals, different charts down to like J critical at least.
Like in the game he ran, I stabbed Dude A. Dude B over here was the one that died because of the way the damage went, like, huh?
That sounds like Rollmaster, but it sounds like Rollmaster somebody may not have known exactly what they were doing. It was also a game that you could easily, get wiped out in a round. A buddy of mine used to play it a lot. He said you always attack from ambush because you wanted to take out most of the other party in the first round, or you start losing players.
Yeah.
So it was one I've never had any real appeal. What about Taylor?
Hey, everybody. I play mostly computer games. I see a tabletop game, and they say, alright, so to build your character, you're going to have to do some math. And I go, not so sure about that, folks. Not so sure about that. I think the clunkiest system I ever worked with was the the old Marvel game.
The Face Rip?
Face Rip? Yeah.
What was complex about that?
I was 4.
I don't know college yet.
Okay.
It was
He
most
was
complicated
4,
in my memory because I was 4.
What the hell you mean read?
Now that one does have charts and stuff. When you're 4, it's a bit much.
Yeah, I saw a lot of charts. Went, alright, look, just what am I best at? You're best at this. Alright, cool. I'm going to find something to do that uses that. And then I did. That was it. I made a rhino that was real good at being a rhino, who was also a robot man, I think.
Yes, it was an android. It actually turned into a dinosaur, but we used the rhino stats.
Right.
Random character creation.
Which was
Explains
bad
it.
in that particular setting.
But basically, I ran at D&D and went, much more complicated than 3.5, and I'm going to have some trouble. Mostly because I didn't own the book.
That
So
makes it
I
a
was
lot
like,
harder.
Yeah. My first time with original D&D, I didn't own any of the books. Had never read any of the books. My cousin and his next door neighbor were the ones that had it. I went over one weekend, and I was lost. I mean, it was like putting me in a room, turning off all the lights, and saying, all right, do this, assemble this that I've never seen, and the instructions were in a foreign language, and they didn't give me the Allen wrench.
Yeah, D&D basically started the hobby. You had your war games before that, and then they kind of segued into that, and they didn't know what they were doing.
Yeah.
They would come up with individual systems, and I don't say that as a criticism of them. They were inventing something new. I'm sure the first person that tried to build a car didn't have a clue what they were doing.
Yeah.
And probably died horribly. But they come up with individual systems for each little something they needed, without worrying about how they related to each other or whether it was intuitive. Where a lot of times now you have a unifying mechanic. So everything kind of segues off that. It's easy to keep up with because it uses at least a similar method of figuring things out. Because I read through some of those books, and as a kid was having a hard time wrapping my head around it. Now I got introduced to second edition AD&D.
Second edition was much better. You still had a lot. It was a lot more math heavy,
Add pluses, subtract minuses.
and
It's not that it was a lot more math heavy than the 3.0 or 3.5. It's that in 3.0 and 3.5 the math all pretty much went one direction.
yeah,
You in second edition you had pluses that you subtracted and minuses that you added. I think you pretty much always wanted to roll high though in that one.
I would certainly hope.
There may have been something you had to roll under your stat occasionally. I forget,
Yeah,
it's been so
yeah.
long.
your THAC0 to hit and all that.
But anyway, to get back to what I was asking you, so you're saying 3.5 you can handle. That's about as crunchy as you want.
Yeah, much. And that was, I could handle 3.5, having to occasionally reference the book.
Mhm.
If I had owned the book, had I played more than one game of it, it was multiple sessions. It was a complete game. We got from point A to point 11 billion because we went way past the C on that shit. But anyway,
It was a whole campaign.
yeah. And I have played D&D in short bursts in other places and understood it just fine.
Have you played any 5th edition?
I believe I played 4th a little bit,
Okay.
and then some Pathfinder and Pathfinder translated perfectly well to me.
It was basically 3.5. Yeah.
But I tend to like a little under that level. When you're having to, I enjoy the idea of going, my fireball hits in a circle this big, I need to position it properly. I like the idea of that. But then having to do it, 4 or 5 times in a row, I start going, alright, it's starting to drag a little on me.
Well, you played in the Esper Genesis game that I run for a while. And that was 5th edition. That was, so that gives you an idea of how complex the 5th edition D&D would be. Which is still basically you just need your book to look at your abilities.
Yeah.
Now you are also in the Icons game I run. What do you think of the Icon system? And something simpler.
So, I mean, it does what it means to do, which is seem like a comic book, because you just kind of go, this round I will do this action that fits in this time slot. And you're good to go. It's pretty simple. It goes, alright, you have a rank of your power, you roll a dice with it. That's the power. Oh, you have a stat of whether or not you hit with the power. Some powers you roll the rank of the power. Some powers you shoot a gun. Well, you roll your accuracy. But, it's very simple, very quick. You can snap your fingers and actions are being done.
Yeah, the only real potentially complicated thing with that is the spending the determination points.
Yeah.
And tapping your aspects and kind of how the aspects work. Yeah. But it was built off of Fate, which was meant to be kind of a rules light, kind of quick something. All right, Todd. What's a game you've played with us that you thought was more complicated than it needed to be, or
Whatever the hell that thing was that Chewie ran that time.
that was second edition AD&D?
The birth of Zoot Dibble. Because we could not die out of that damn thing.
We were trying to die.
Yeah.
My little halfling detective just would not stay dead.
We got a point back. Damn it! You got a point back. Damn it!
It was a perfect storm of suck though, because we'd been playing you'd played 3.5 or
Yep.
at least 3.0 by that point.
Yep.
So you were going back to a more archaic system,
And I hated every second of it.
and the
Yep.
GM was not running a particularly interesting
Damn.
story, and we were
Second.
first level, and he had like a 9th level NPC wizard with us that was basically his character. Yeah, it was just a perfect storm of. Now, having said that, we had a couple of fun stories come out of it because we were trying desperately to die.
Well, yeah. If something sucks bad enough, you can find the humor in it to keep from crying.
What was it? He ran that at Gabe's
Mm-hmm.
Memorial Day, or
It was the
Labor
4th of
Day?
July.
It was
The
4th of
4th
July.
of July cookout. You ran that. Yeah.
because he ran that, it wrapped up. Most everybody left, except the guys that were all in the Call of Cthulhu group. So we played some Call of Cthulhu to get the taste out of our mouth.
Pretty much.
I think did he run 2 sessions of that?
I ain't played but in the one.
Okay.
I
Maybe we had a session where
I
we made
played
the
that damn.
characters and
Yeah, I
then-
played that damn thing one time. Was like, I am never playing this again.
I had sworn it off before, but Chewie really, really wanted to run it. And you have a movement in gaming called the OSR, which is like old school revival, or there's a couple other meanings to it.
Basically, they went, we like to do math.
Well, that's the trick.
What?
It's they go for that kind of 80s vibe, and not all of it, but most of it takes the old D&D rules, but they tweak them to something workable. So there's a lot of charts, but it's not super complex.
I stand by my statement.
Yeah, literally. I want charts and graphs.
Yeah, kind of.
Why do you want charts? Because I can't get laid.
I want to do the most complicated math possible to do a fireball.
And it's fun because you've got some of the older gamers like me or Danny that are into that, and then you got a lot of folks that they weren't alive when some of those editions of D&D were actually played.
They go to bad places.
Good old Mr. Kellogg's would really approve of this.
But and you got all kinds of games. The only one whose title I can think off the top of my head is Lamentations of the Flame Princess, I think it's called. It's a very specific name, and it's like the artwork, from what I hear, is like super gory. You see the named character, getting killed in half the artwork. You got one that concentrates on the ideal of establishing, strongholds, and which was a thing in your older version of D&D. Once your character hit a certain level, they tended to start doing that. I've been reading up on it. I like the style aspect of it. I am not interested in necessarily running
10th level,
those
I'm going to
rules.
create hell shallow.
No, if you go, I'm level 18. I shall erect a castle.
With these hands.
I'm working on a campaign that has an OSR vibe to it, but I'm just using Chaosium's system, which dates back to the 70s, but was a lot less clunky, and I could not convince my AD&D second edition players when I was running that to switch over. I ran a one-shot from that, oh yeah, that's neat. We'd rather keep playing this. Because RuneQuest would work
You
so
were
much
running
better.
around with the math, boys. You got to run around with a game.
As the DM, I was doing most of the math, truthfully. I mean, they had to calculate the Thaco or whatever, which was an equation that basically shorthanded having to check the chart that you had to do in the previous edition. So it was,
Damn it, I want the chart.
yeah.
Charts and graphs.
What do you suppose has been the easiest game to play that we've done?
Mutants Mastermind. There's one fucking die.
Fair enough.
That was it. What you got? I got one die.
That's true. It was one dice. Everything from action resolution to
Handle with a D20.
avoiding damage to
Handle with a D20. What you do?
To go along with that, I would say the old school Marvel game, because you had just the 2 percentile dice. You're rolling 1 to 100.
Nah, that's 2 dice. 1 die.
Well, you could have got a 1d100, but still.
Icons is also one die.
But some way, I didn't enjoy Icon's game mechanic quite as much. It was something I liked Eminem though, for some reason.
Well, Icons is super simple. That was it's designed by the same guy, and that was
Sorry.
he's got his crunchier version.
Yeah.
Though most of the Mutants and Masterminds crunch comes in character creation.
The trick is, like I said, it's one of those kind of things where we haven't really played one, like I said, other than that one that was complex to the point that you don't give a damn about this. To hell with the whole thing.
So other than that one kind of retro throwback, you haven't really had any nightmarish experiences with any of them.
I didn't like the Dresden game. I didn't like the character creation in Dresden.
Yeah.
That was too much. That was way too damn much for character creation, where you got to sit there and, well, it's this and this, and then you got to roll this, and then we need you a little backstory. Dude, I've just barely come up with the concept of this damn character. I don't have his fucking life history yet. I just won't play the damn game. It's...
The Fate system is big on the kind of characters meshing your backstories.
And where did you meet? Local porn shop? I don't know. I don't care.
I don't think about the game before I sit down at the table, which is not really how you need to do for Fate. But Monster of the Week, which is a game I'm running, and over on Direberry will be playing sometime in the new year. It does a lot of that where you sit down and but you have kind of a list of different ways that your characters can be interrelated.
Well, the thing
to
is,
start the party off.
The thing is, if you got enough time, if you got enough free time to sit there and go, okay, this is my character and this is the concept, and this is his life, and because I played games where the characters had a life and I had a concept of that when I did, and then sometimes it's just like, I want to do this. What do you want to do? I want to hit shit with a sword. How can I do that? I don't need to know if he hits shit with a sword because his mom was divorced from his dad, and he favors his dad, so his mom really didn't love him, and he he sublimates his feelings by going out and hitting things with a sword. I just want to hit shit with a sword. I come up with all that later.
This is Badrill. He likes to hit things with sword. Badrill happy with swords.
Pretty much.
This is Badrill's story.
What happened? He just popped into being. He ain't got a past yet. Let's go.
The trick is having the past, especially with something like Dresden that is so story based, does help the GM or whatever they call it, set up the story.
I didn't see where one thing in that story in the game that I played had a damn thing to do with my past. Nothing. It was literally a Dresden
Did
mystery.
you not just sit here and basically go, he wasn't writing his past, he wasn't coming up with
No,
his
I
past?
came up with a pass
he
for
came
it.
up
I
with
came
a-
up with a
okay,
pass for it
okay.
because I had to.
He sat down and wrote the novel. Then he found out, we were
To be
just,
fair, I did not enjoy
Yeah,
that particular Dresden.
but then you just
game.
went, we're just doing whatever story you wanted to do.
Right.
You aren't interconnecting any of this.
That
Right.
was Dresden being run by somebody that had not read any of the Dresden.
But that was literally what that turned out. Okay, I want you to write this fucking book for this character to build this damn thing, and then when you actually play the thing, ain't got shit to do with that book that you wrote. We literally could just went, I shoot stuff with a magic gun and start playing.
Yeah, that's fair.
But
That was not a good example.
That
of
also
the system
sounds
at work.
less like a system problem and more of a...
It kind of
You're,
was because one of the other guys in that game for another group of mine ran a one shot or 1 or 2 session something of Dresden, and it felt a lot more like the novels. The system seemed to work better. One problem we had with the first time we played it, even the minions, we couldn't make anybody drop in a fight. We were supposed to be, we weren't the high tier characters, we were like the next tier down, and we could not drop the random guys with the guns. I don't think the GM had a good grasp on how the system actually worked. But
That was a whole lot of work for that.
yeah.
It's a whole, it's right there with the
Fate in
Star
general,
Wars game with the vampires. Yeah, it's... No.
Fate in general is not a super complex system. Where we were having trouble with it is it was so different from anything else we had played. Icon draws a little bit from Fate, but changes the base, changes some of the base mechanic, and switches a few things back a little closer to your more typical.
Like I said, that was one of those games that was not going to be, we sit here and I'm trying to do it on the quick fast. That was literally something that, it'd been better off if I'd known going in, okay, you're going to have to write a fucking bio for this character, which means I'm going to have to take more time after I come up with a concept with actually coming up with a life for this bastard, which, none of that. I just sat down, let's write a life for this character. Dude, I barely know what the hell I want him to be.
Yeah.
Yeah. There are some games like Cthulhu, Call of Cthulhu. As you create your character, you have, an occupation, which kind of helps with, okay, who is this guy? To do this job, what would he be like or she be like? And you start going, okay, he's a cop or he's a soldier. He grew up in some, you kind of start getting some ideas, and it makes sense in your head. So, like the Dresden one, though, it didn't. You had to literally sit there and go,
Yep. Some of that stuff comes about after you've played the character for a while. You start to go, okay, I'm playing in this way so I can have, this is why, hell, my Wheel of Time character, I had a fucking bio on him. I could have told you, okay, this was his upbringing, this is the reason why he's kind of a con man, this is the reason why he's doing this is what he thinks about the woman that he married, all that crap.
But you didn't have that.
But no, I didn't have that day one. I had to play this cat for a while.
Yeah.
You had kind of the I'm going to play him as a shyster day one.
Truthfully, I didn't even have that day one. Because I wasn't familiar with the world. It wasn't until I found out, I'm playing a magic user and I'm level 1, I'm freakishly weak. And they want to kill people like me. I'm going to be a con man.
I'm going to lie.
I'm going to lie a lot. And then later on, I came up with why he was a liar. Like, because, they'd already tried to kill him once. So he learned to lie.
No, it wasn't me, it was him.
Yep, literally blame that on it. Who the hell is... That's a damn male channel. Get him.
But let's see.
No, he'll put him under a rock if he crushes him, but that was obviously right.
Well, so I've asked y'all, so I'm trying to think now what my... Either AD&D 2nd edition that we've kind of talked about, or like I said, the Heroes Unlimited, the Palladium system in general, are probably the crunchiest ones that I have really tried to run. I have read through some stuff that was worse that I just like, no.
Yeah.
We're not going to touch that. Icons is probably the simplest system that I've played in. Well, that I have run much of. Powered by the Apocalypse is simple, which is a system they use for a lot of different games. Monster of the Week that I mentioned earlier is powered by the Apocalypse. I think Dungeon World is powered by the Apocalypse. Apocalypse World, which is the...
that all this shit's powered by the Apocalypse. We're all going to hell.
Oh, wait. I just remembered. There is one thing simpler than Icons that I played.
Oh, what's that?
I forget the system's name, though. But it was based on Jenga.
There's a few games that have used Jenga.
It was entirely of, anytime you had to take an action for something, took a piece off, and if the tower fell, something bad would happen. Usually in fights it would just mean you died. It was very quick to kill characters. Or you could take the tower and just go, nonsense, and throw it down, and your action would succeed, but you'd die.
There's also a game called Starcrossed, where everybody is playing a Romeo or a Juliet type. And you do something, and the game ends when the tower falls. There was something else that used Jenga.
But that is probably the most rules light of, you take a physical dexterity test to win. Or you can say, you end your game and throw it down.
Yeah, a lot of the indie stuff kind of does that. There was one where everybody is running a dwarf clan. You're running the entire clan, so it's a little role play, a little board gamey. And it's, you're establishing this new hold, and you're basically building your people's history. Each clan is. But eventually they're going to dig too deep and things are going to end badly. And it's just kind of who can last the longest and who gets, the most interesting ending kind of thing.
Hey, you're talking about game mechanic. Does any of them beat that game we played where if you played a psychic, you had to be psychic?
That was not complicated. That was just dumb.
What?
Yeah.
I'd say it was, well, it's kind of complicated.
I can't remember if it was. I believe that was Conspiracy X,
Yeah, that may have been kind of
where you had the kind of psychic cards with the star and the squiggles and all that.
Yeah.
You had to have a deck of those.
Mhm.
And if you're playing a psychic, the GM would hold the cards up, and you'd have to call what you were going to draw and draw it to make your power work.
Yep.
Now, the higher up your power was, you got multiple draws, which is where it became potentially usable.
You had to be psychic.
Yeah.
Play a psychic. Realism.
As opposed to some versions of Shadowrun, which is another really, really crunchy system, or the psychic rules out of Spycraft, where using your powers damaged you. You could kill yourself casting a spell in Shadowrun. You could kill yourself. I was playing a psychic in a blessedly short Spycraft game, where I had to sit there and do the math and go, okay, am I going to lose more hit points by taking this bullet shot, or am I going to lose more of my hit points by throwing up my telekinetic shield? And then how much damage will I still take despite the shield? And I was like, I'd be better off just getting shot. All right. Now, we were first or second level. If as we'd gone up, it would probably have gotten better, but no thank you.
But the argument of it probably gets better later is not the best for a game.
Yeah.
If you develop your own psychic powers, it becomes easier.
So, like I said, Icon's probably the easiest one I've run. I'm still getting the hang of Power by the Apocalypse because it's not complicated, but it's structured so differently than what I'm used to. Everybody's enjoying the game so far, though. Most complicated one I've run, like I said, would probably have been AD&D 2nd Edition. I have looked at one called Super World that I was talking about before we started recording, which was it wasn't the first superhero game. That was Superhero 2020 or 2025, I forget. But it was the first one where you could actually you could take points and you could build your character like you wanted. There was no random rolling to it. The problem was in calculating some of your stats, there were times when you literally had to calculate square roots. It didn't catch on. Go figure.
What's the square root of I'm not?
But I really only read that one after I heard about that, and the company that was doing a new version of it, put the original one out for free PDF download.
This is a PDF download game that nobody wanted to play.
Right.
Except some guys from MIT that went.
And some of the rest of us that are curious enough to
How
look
the hell are
at
you
it.
mocking nerds? We in a room full of toys. How the hell are you mocking?
I'm not mocking.
What the fuck is all this?
He's mocking nerds. He is a geek.
Don't they eat live chickens?
Yes. Now, you've completely derailed me. Where was I going?
Hell. Oh, you meant now.
Awesome.
Okay. Not bad.
Calm down, children.
So what is the favorite game you ever played, Todd?
Mechanics wise or the actual game?
Let's go mechanics wise. That's more in keeping with the conversation so far.
Abra. I like Abra. I like the visceral feeling of rolling like a handful of fucking dice and picking out successes and then looking and going, oh, I do God knows how many automatic successes. Yeah, I think I've knocked that sucker through a wall. That's sweet. I enjoyed the hell out of Abra.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to. I've backed the 2nd edition on Kickstarter recently, and I'm really looking forward to it coming out. Even if they're jacking up the setting. Oh, Taylor, what's your favorite game that you played?
Probably the 3.5, but that's because I got dropped in at a fairly moderately high level, so I had access to a lot of tools and fun things to play with immediately.
Didn't have to build up to it.
I didn't have to fight a house cat and possibly lose. I just jumped straight
It was
into.
only commoners that would lose.
I just jumped straight into double-handing a sword into a kraken, which was neat. I was not a complicated man. I took a sword, I threw a sword on the ground, and let it dance while I swung another sword at something.
Look at this.
That's right. My
That's
Eberron game
freaking
was
sad.
your first one. I knew you were talking about playing one online. I was thinking of that one for some reason. Danny, what would be your favorite one that you've played?
Played, not ran, right?
Yes, that's what I'm asking this time.
Okay.
Then I'll flip the script.
Probably the 3.0, 3.5, or Pathfinder variation. Some of the stuff that you and Tim ran for us.
Okay. The 3 point whatever systems they were such a step up from what had come before.
Yeah.
Even though I like fifth better as far as running it, and I'll get into that in a minute after I ask you my next question. What's been your favorite system that you've run?
Easiest that I've ran would be the Marvel Face Rip game. Easiest by far. The one I had the most fun with to date would probably have to be the Wheel of Time, because that was just, we had such a fun time with that campaign.
It's not so much the system exactly, but
because it was basically 3.0.
yes, it was.
That was the reason why I asked when he asked me that. You talk about most fun I had the playing thing, or you talk
But
about system?
Currently, I'm enjoying the Call of Cthulhu game that we're running. I'm enjoying watching how y'all handle things.
Oh yeah, before I get there's totally a mole in our organization in that game.
That's not it right there. Let's see.
There's a fucking mole. We know there's a mole.
Yeah. So my favorite game to play. Yeah, I really should have had that thought of ahead of time because I'm drawing a blank. I've enjoyed so many different ones.
Just say Hero Escape and we'll move on.
Not a role-playing game, though. Otherwise, it would be right there in the running.
That's the only game I've seen you threaten dice in.
I did throw them in the microwave before I went to work one time. Yeah. Stay there. Think about what you did.
Cut it on. But he put them in there and said, "Don't take them out."
Yeah.
He looked at me.
I was at least
and
in
said, "Don't take them out." I said, "Okay."
They're on punishment.
And then I took them out because I had to cook a hot pocket.
I've known people who have put their dice in a vice clamp and went off to work.
Y'all moves are weird.
You know they're not sentient, right? Besides, if you just put them next to your junk, they do whatever they want. Get whatever you want from them. Yeah.
They do whatever they want next to your junk.
No, they do whatever you want. They get chock full of mojo. My red dice is so full of mojo.
I would almost say the first Star Wars game, which is the Coast did, which was basically the 3 point whatever D&D rules.
Was that the one where we went in the warehouse and it was just you and me and we managed to kill everybody in there and just bouncing?
That was the only one. That was the only one where the lightsaber reflection thing worked, and I just had a lot of fun. It did a good job of emulating what it was supposed to be emulating. So of course they had to fix that in previous subsequent editions. I'm curious about the current one that's out, and it's not that the rules are super crunchy; it's that it uses custom dice.
Well,
with all these different little emblems, you got to remember what each emblem means. And
see, I would run that one, but I would wait till all of you did your typical male characters, and then you could do like in that first one, but only if you were a girl.
the Force is female.
The Force is female. I'd run Disney Star Wars. Every week I think, how can I make you hate this more?
My favorite game to run.
Chewbacca's a whore on Tatooine.
No. Make it Dantooine.
My favorite one to run is probably 5th edition. I enjoyed Pathfinder alright, but there was a lot to keep up with. But playing, I don't have too much of a preference between, say, Pathfinder, 1st edition, 2nd maybe out by now, and 5th edition. But running it, there's so much less bookkeeping with 5th. As far as what I'm currently running, like I'm running Starfinder, which is built off of Pathfinder, but it's a sci-fi game. And I'm running Esper Genesis, which is a sci-fi game built off the 5th edition rules. And I'm enjoying both of them. The Starfinder is a little crunchier. And other than ship combat, though, I really just like the Esper Genesis better. It's just easier to run. Its ship combat is also easier to run, but to the point that it loses a little something. Because in Starfinder, you actually have to keep up with, how much power your ship shields have on each side, and your science officer can kind of rotate stuff around,
So it's more Star Trek.
Side. It's a 3-dimensional object.
But, but that gives you something where there's a reason to have it on a tactical board, even if it's just blank space. Because my guys have gone to great extremes maneuvering the ship around to try and get the shield that's still got some power to it facing the enemy, or if they go, wait, I think that guy's ships are locked or guns are locked forward. Because facing and where your gun's arc is important. The ship combat in Starfighter is just more tactical. Where, especially running it online on Roll20, Esper Genesis is just a lot easier to do. In the time frame you've got. That's about all. That's all I got to say.
Smoke
about
bomb.
that. If I had a smoke bomb, because it's not my house, so I don't care. I will go back and touch on something you said at the very beginning about how the system has to emulate what you want to play. Like Call of Cthulhu does a good job with horror, but it was one of your earliest horror games, possibly your first horror game. Chaosium, same system that RuneQuest used that I referenced earlier. And almost as old. I mean, it's the 70s. The hobby got started in the 70s. I think Cthulhu came out in 79, 78 or 79. I also like that system because they had something that works, and they haven't thrown
The baby out
with the bathwater. I mean, Cthulhu's own edition 7 or 8.
7.
But it's been small, incremental changes. You could still grab something that written for first edition and run it with the current one, with almost no adjustments having to be made.
And that's the
Cthulhu
thing
eat
I
man. Cthulhu big.
Cthulhu eats 1d6 players around.
Yeah. But when you start out, like let's say you start out with level 1 of a game, or not level 1, but version 1 of a game. When they get to version 2, and all they've done, they've kept what works and tweaked what didn't. As a GM, that's great because if you've bought all this other stuff up, you can still draw from that.
That is why second edition D&D still had so much of the jacked up mess. Because there was a lot of stuff the designers wanted to do. You would have had something a lot closer to third back then, but they were forbidden to break compatibility. It had to still be mostly compatible because they wanted to sell the old products and stuff.
Yeah.
The industry is completely different now. 80% of your games get funded on Kickstarter now. A lot of it's digital now. Anybody can put a game out. I've actually gone back to tinkering what I was working on earlier. But, because you can release it on the online store and stuff. But that's getting off on another subject that I'll probably bring up at some point.
We have homework.
Yes. But that's like the Icons game I'm playing. It does a good job of Justice League Unlimited style. You've got this power scale, and some people can pick up, small mountains or push planets potentially. But you're all fixed on a scale where everybody can kind of interact with each other. Which, if you watched that cartoon, was kind of how it was.
Yeah.
Nah, give me everything. Were you either God or you suck?
All depending on how good you were at building the characters, yes. But if you're going for emulating that works great. If you want the teenage heroes growing up and kind of the social interaction that goes with that, along with all your superheroing stuff, there is one called Masks: A New Generation, powered by the Apocalypse, that I have not played this one. I have read through it extensively because I thought we were going to get to play it.
You went, I want to be a teenage superhero.
And I have listened to some live plays of it. Or some actual
Oh, my
plays.
character's voice to be changed.
I want him to experience things I can watch.
Well, it's more like if your mentor,
The Fresh Maker.
yes. If your mentor scolds you, if your mentor scolds you, and you sit there and go, you know what, my character doesn't think he did anything wrong, then you can ignore his influence and that adjusts your stats. Or you accept his influence and that adjusts your stats. And then as you advance, you can start locking in stats as basically your character is starting to.
As your hormones stop
Yeah,
fluctuating.
you forming a personality.
As you become a fully fledged human.
And all this is going on while you're fighting giant plant monsters or time traveling psychic dinosaurs or whatever, any kind of weirdness.
He called you human and he not recognize.
I have
who
listened to the
talking
designer of the game talk about his inspiration for that. And it was one Marvel comic book cover. Wolverine's female clone was kissing a time-displaced younger Cyclops. And he goes, I want to emulate that in the game. He goes, just looking at the whole concept of that was just so out there, I was like, I want to make that a game.
Okay.
And it developed from there, but...
Okay. Oh, they the teen sidekick.
Yeah. But,
Got hair in places that I didn't
like I
know
said, I was
had
listening to
places.
I was listening to an actual play, and the characters were having the folks were having a lot of fun with it. You can look up on YouTube, just Google "babies with knives." That's the
Him
group that
doing
did it.
that just made me think of that comic book, Dragonfly Man and
Two Earths?
Two Earths.
Yeah.
The sidekick, the one that's from the 50s stuff. I can see his character doing
All
that.
right, we're clearly getting off into
Yeah.
segues. Anyway, I was talking about emulating specific things. So Mask is emulating a particular, trying to emulate Young Justice, Young Avengers, Teen Titans, early.
Yeah.
That style of something. Icons, it has the feel of the animated series stuff. I assume that's especially with the artwork. It does a good job of emulating that. But if you want to do grittier, it gets a little iffy.
Yeah.
Brave New World was a grittier system. The system had a lot of flaws.
You could play the hell out of the original X-Men in it.
But it was one of those where you're having to hide, you're having to run around. Bullets are a potential threat to most of you. Cthulhu covers horror. I was going to say specifically the Lovecraftian style, but I can see you doing more classic horror in it too.
Yeah,
Because the characters are not super sturdy in that.
6.0 and 7.0 in Cthulhu actually have options for running like monsters or characters you see in movies or in other type,
Sweet.
folklore.
I'm gonna sacrifice the mole in our organization to Pennywise the Dancing Clown.
Who do you think's the mole?
Alright, that's this.
Yeah, that'll be a conversation for after
Okay.
after we finish recording. So, lastly, to wrap up, what is a genre of game or a style of game you'd like to see a system emulate that you haven't yet? We'll start with.
I don't know. I haven't played a game where you're attempting to achieve a goal, but there's a secret amount of backstabbers in the group. But it's dice rolling based. So you as a player might know, well, that person just killed that person, but my character doesn't know. So if I get invited to a room, I still got to roll whether or not my dumbass does it. Full well knowing that person's going to stab me in the back when I go in that room with them if I don't make this roll.
That sounds like something you could do with that sounds like something you could do with most
Yeah.
any game. Yeah.
It's more of a tweak to a game system, but I just haven't played a game where, you're all trying to achieve the objective, but there are players in this game with you.
You
that
have
hidden
games.
objectives.
You have games like Werewolf,
Yeah, I've played.
but it's
plenty
not
of Werewolf.
but it's not a role playing game. You want that sort of effect in a role playing game.
Because in Werewolf, it is, well, we're trying to kill the werewolves are trying to kill us. We just don't know anything about anybody else.
Yeah.
I don't know who anybody is in this.
What about you, Todd? A genre you haven't played that you'd like to see a system that could cover it?
I have nothing because my mind immediately went to the gutter.
Porn star.
Yeah, as soon as he asked that question, I was like, Pornhub, the game.
Search the indie games. You'll
Like
find
hell.
something.
Like hell. What are you doing? I'm rolling on the disease chart to see what this bump is.
Roll a D10 on STD.
I knew that's where your mind went when I saw the look on your face.
He says that he doesn't want to play that because he plays with a room full of dudes.
Oh hell no! I didn't say I want to play it.
He just wants to see the game just to see it get shut down.
No hell, I'll back and read it. Oh wow. Oh damn.
So okay, so if you fumble on a thrust roll, you can throw your back out. Well, okay.
You got to roll on your daddy issues chart.
Go to character creation. This is what you can film for. This side.
There is a superhero game. It's not as bad as what you're getting into.
Conan?
There's a superhero game called Super Babes.
Ah.
Based off, it's Super Babes, the FemForce RPG. It's based off AC Comics' FemForce book. Where your character could accumulate bimbo points.
Wow.
That the GM could cash in for bad things to happen to you. You know, paparazzi gets an embarrassing photo of you. All the way up to things like you could be sexually harassed, which is a little creepy to have in a role-playing game.
Yeah, it's creepy.
But,
Well, my idea for Pornhub, the game, it's cold.
Or somebody out there.
other than the
going,
licensing fee for the name.
Yeah.
Oh shit! I got a girl. What the hell do I do with her? Take out the chart.
It's educational. Some Mississippi mud flats. Check the chart.
You do what now?
Alright. Danny,
I rolled a 1. I showed her my toy collection.
what is a genre? Let's get back on subject here.
Okay.
What is a genre you'd like to see a game emulate that you haven't seen?
Office work. Go with office work.
What went through my mind is you got Dungeons and Dragons, but you always see the little cartoon drawing of the either the fantasy characters from Dungeons and Dragons or the dragons sitting around playing lawyers and whatnot. But that's not what I want to see. But that's what popped in my head when you said that. Some sort of apocalyptic game that fits, that actually had a good premise, good system, because
Not zombies or alien invasion, just an old school something has happened.
yeah, something's happened. You don't know what.
Almost a survival
A
game.
survival game.
Yeah.
Basically.
Okay. I am sure something like that's out there, but we tend to go, our group tends to play the more fantastical stuff.
Yeah.
Now, what about as a GM?
He wants to run the 100-floor dungeon with fools that don't check doors or traps and none of that shit.
You've mentioned Starfinder. I haven't played it. I've got a copy of it, but I haven't played it yet. Either a game like that you could play Star Wars or Star Trek or what and would fit.
Okay, well, you've got sci-fi games out there. So you've got you got multiples for each of those licenses you mentioned.
Yeah, but
Star Trek's got 2 in print now.
there's so many out there that off the top of my head I cannot think of.
We should totally play Star Trek because we got the group for it.
No, we don't.
We're all
Ba-
advanced
Based
stuffy
on the
humanoids.
one group that I've seen play the Star Trek game, yeah.
You've had multiple Star Trek games. My favorite, not that I've played, I've actually only ever played one Star Trek game. But I like the concept of, I think it's called Starfleet. Because they made a deal with Paramount back before the movie started. So all they can use is the original series and the animated series. But their license never ends. Because at the time, Paramount was like, yeah, it's a show to what? Couple 3 seasons. And, yeah, we ain't gonna ever anything with this again. They want to pay us a little bit, a percentage basically. Sure, they can have it for as long as they want. And then the movies hit. Now they're not restricted. Other, Last Unicorn ran one. The guys that do Mutant Chronicles and stuff now have theirs out using the 2D20 system. And all this time, Starfleet Battles has just chugged along. The board games they have done has just chugged along. The I can't remember if it's Starfleet. I forget exactly what the RPG was called. But they've been running all that stuff since the 70s, and it's its own little niche. When D20 got big, they did a D20 version, and they've filled their own canon in from where the original series stopped. Well, from where the anime series stopped. You know, you had what they call the General War, which is basically a world war with all the. Well, you know, they can never reference Picard. They can never reference, you know. That's like that because it's the small indie company that has survived all this time and unintentionally got one over on your big corporation. But anyway, to get back on subject, because we keep wandering off. 'Cause I could segue from one game subject to another all day. But anyway,
We're old. Our mind wanders.
yeah, this is true. This is true. We're not laser focused like the whippersnapper.
Yo, what up? I use a DMR. It's a 3-burst rifle in Halo. Because everyone in competitive uses that shit, or you will die! Alright.
Alright. Let's see. For me,
I don't know where the hell that came from.
It's laser focused. You gotta hit that 3-round burst. I've been playing Halo a lot lately.
I'm not sure what genre I'd want to play that there isn't a game for, truthfully.
Yeah,
So
I
you
can't
say no
think-
to Pornhub, the game?
Yes, I'm saying no.
Yeah, that's a big no.
You don't want to push someone out of the way.
I was in a big
photocopier?
mood for sci-fi for a long time, and now I've got Starfinder and Esper Genesis at the same time, using very similar systems. Never do that to yourself. If anybody out there's watching, you run games, don't run two similar systems in the same genre at the same time. You will do nothing to get the rules confused.
Superheroes in space. There should totally be one with superheroes in space.
Cosmic Enforcers. I've got one from the 80s.
Yeah.
Superhero 2025, the original one, was a superhero sci-fi thing. Alright, well, we've derailed and gotten back on the rails and derailed again, so, we'll wrap it up here. This was us talking about our favorite systems, different styles of systems. Originally it was going to be a Crunchy versus Rules Light.
That one.
We escalated, We covered that. I mean, we did discuss that. And
Yeah,
discussed
that
all
jumped
kinds
up
of
fast.
So anyway, if you're an RPG nerd, I hope you enjoyed it.
I guess my answer to that. Then
If you're not an RPG nerd, I hope you found it educational on another type of nerd.
I know Danny ran all them off with his glasses pushing up.
Anyway, again, I have been your host for the day, the experienced some call Jason, and joining me has been.
Wait, you said it too, so.
I don't like to do math, Tarky.
The token I don't want to like.
Sure.
No, it was
Like
just
he's the
it
only
was
person
just a
here who doesn't
statement.
want to do that. Oh, the Todd Father.
CDL 113.
And we'll see you next time.
Peace.
The next one of these I do, and I'll have bullet points. Try to keep us on subject a little bit.
It won't help.